I'm assuming the question, Eric, is how would I address the problem of evil in Calvinism?
Yep.
Okay, this was actually a video that I did in response to I'm just gonna call it a furry, or they want to call themselves scaleless because this one person's Sona was definitely technically a dragon. Um,
Mhm.
so not necessarily fur, but I responded to that person's objections on the problem of evil while using the issue, um, while using the theology of Calvinism, the worldview that I hold to, um, in dealing with this. And so, how would I address the problem of evil? For one, it would be this: that anything that happens, for example, let's say you have an atheistic worldview and evil things happen, it's purposeless. It just happens. It's part of some random accidents that occur. There is no meaning. There is no purpose behind anything that happens. It's just truly matters of it just being some cosmic stardust accident that occurs in the world. But when you have in Calvinism things that happen, so for example, and I'm not going to use anything outside because I don't know people's circumstances and I don't want to get them involved, but I'll just use my examples. My brother, for example, in my family, had lost a friend to an overdose of drugs, and this shook him up very greatly. So, there was a time that I had gotten my arm broken after, and I was like, what, in the fourth grade when this happened too. I was very young, and it was just pushed, shoved, arm got dislocated after being shoved into some metal bar and definitely heard a snap. Um, I was at one point in Mississippi, and then I had to move, and then had to come back because my home, eventually I found out that our home got destroyed by Hurricane Katrina. So I was a victim to what Hurricane Katrina had done to one of my former homes that I lived at. And the areas that I was around, like it took down an entire casino, like from the water, from the ground, and the water just completely took it down to the ocean. I mean, it was a mess. So how do I struggle with things like the problem of evil, where you have, for example, natural disasters and such? Um, then you have issues where people are being killed, where people have suffered, and all this kind of stuff. How do you deal with this in a Calvinistic worldview? Well, as I said, one, it has purpose, so that everything that happens, because God Himself even says that I bring light and evil, though the word evil is referring to the natural disasters terms. Um, but anything that happens is from God. There's no doubt about that in terms of everything that occurs, but there's a purpose. And secondly, the issue about this purpose can we may not know it, but if we take time to look around, we can look and examine that we're not the same person that we were before. So, for example, with my brother, he was back then sort of not in the loop with us. He was more out trying to be a rebel, trying to do his own thing. The one thing that I noticed, and this was something that was pointed out to me, was that ever since then, he went to his family on that matter. And that's but at that point afterwards, me and him got closer than we ever did in our lives. We weren't as close back then, but at that point we were. We were starting to bond more, actually being brothers. And then you have the issue about me with my arm. I actually started to learn how to, try to toughen myself out from different pain. I was forced at first to try to, because I needed to get better, especially in terms of when tests and such were coming. And it was my right arm, my writing arm, that was damaged. And I tried, and I pushed myself to the point that it was kind of like a new form of therapy that I didn't think about because I was a kid at the time, and it helped. And I learned at this point probably why, like, when I'm in pain or if I'm sick, I don't, just lay down and say, I can't do this. I toughen up. I get through with it. Um, at this point, I've literally told my bosses, if you want me to take a sick day or take something where I'm injured, you better expect that I have both of my legs cut off or something like that before that happens. I mean, I'll pull through with something. So sometimes things in our life happen for reasons that we may not know or reasons that we may know. There are even things that happen today that I don't know the reason why they occur, but I do know there's a purpose. I do know that in the end, God's got it all, and we must trust him and know that God um, will be there for us, and that Christ will be there for us if we put our faith and trust in him. And I think that's how I would address the problem of evil as a Calvinist. And that the problem of evil really is on that who is the non-believer who doesn't have a God in his worldview, but rather an accidental kind of thing. For more on that, if you want, check out my response to Cothrix on the problem of evil. So far, it's helped out a lot of people try to get a better understanding of how God works in this world. And I've even had a response where he said that, it's definitely something he's never heard of before. So I hope that helps you out there, Eric.